me. My name is Kelly Barron. I'm a senior. I was abroad all last year, so you haven't seen my face because I was somewhere else. But I love to meet you, so please come find me. I'd love to find out who you are. I spent the last 2 summers working for the National Bonner Foundation, which is located in Princeton, New Jersey. It's right on Princeton's campus. It used to be owned by the university, but was bought by the Bonners some few years ago. And I live about 20 minutes from the foundation, so it's kind of cool. I just live at home and work there in the summer, and that's where I've done my past 2 summers of service. So, as Kim said, there's a much bigger Bonner network. It's not just about our little Richmond community, and oftentimes I think we all just think in terms of Richmond's version of Bonner. And working at the foundation really opened my eyes to a whole other series of versions of Bonner programs across the country. There are over 80 Bonner programs in the country, and we are actually one of the originals, and we are also the largest. So those are some kind of cool, distinct things about our program. The average Bonner program, scholar program, is anywhere between 40 and 60 Bonners. A Bonner leader program can range anywhere from 5 to about 70. And we're 100. So you can see we're above in both ways. And it's kind of a cool position to be in. So this is a great year for us to make an impact on the network. The University of Richmond has never, ever hosted any sort of congress, which is kind of ironic considering one of the originals. So this is a really good opportunity for us. But back to the foundation. The 2 pictures before. Sorry. Let me just yep. This is Mr. and Mrs. Bonner. I'll talk a little bit about their history in a few moments. And this is what the foundation looks like. It's this beautiful old Victorian home that's been renovated and is offices. And we have lunch out here on the front porch. And it's a really nice place to work. So if you're ever through New Jersey, definitely stop by. You can stay at my house. It really broadens the Bonner picture, and I'd like to do that for you today. So let's start with the story. 2 men named Wayne and Bobby. You'll see why they're important in the symbol, and we'll start with their little history. We're in the 1980s at Harvard. These 2 guys were really involved in athletics and in their academics. Wayne was studying government, Bobby was studying business, and both of them had always been pretty athletic. Bobby played for the rugby team, and Wayne had tried out to be on the soccer team, but didn't make it. He was devastated, didn't expect it, kind of was in there on an athletic scholarship anyway, or hoping to be, and so he really had to refocus himself with his own learning disabilities and dyslexia, actually, back into government and his studies. But that wasn't as fulfilling as he had wanted it to be, so he thought a little bit more about soccer and what he could do. And so he decided to create a nonprofit organization, which is called HEART. And it still exists today in Boston as a volunteer organization for Harvard. And it stands for Harvard Action, I can't remember. But basically what he did is he started a soccer league for inner city students around Boston. And it went really well. He loved it so much. And he got all these other people in Harvard to get on board and to serve part-time at school, Bobby being one of them. And this is really important to the movement because you have to understand, we've all grown up with service as a part of our lives. Can someone tell me when you started doing service? When did you start? Huh? When you were 9 years old? So middle school? Anyone else? Sophomore year of high school? Okay. Anyone else? 4? Come on. Okay. Well, whatever. So the cool thing is our generation has always been accustomed to doing service, right? So when you're applying to college, you think of kind of college in 3 ways: academics, athletics, and now service. Where has my experience been? What are my assets? That wasn't always the case. The service movement is actually new to our generation. We're the generation that's grown with it. Before, service was only attached to religious or spiritual groups and seen as missionary work. So this is one of the first initiatives of service in its own right, and service as a way of changing our communities and using the resources in our universities to create impact. And so what Wayne and Bobby did upon graduation is they created the Campus Outreach Opportunity League, which was their idea of creating a coalition of campuses nationwide that was involved in community engagement. So terms like civic engagement, service learning, none of this existed before. It was all involved in churches and spiritual groups. So this is a really novel idea. But they didn't have the money, and they didn't know the people to make it happen. So literally what they did was walked from Boston to D.C. and met with students in colleges. They walked. They didn't know any administrators. They didn't know any key points of contact on campuses. They just met up with students, slept on their floors, got rides to the next university, and tried to convince people that service could be the next way of changing our generation. And ironically enough, they ran into some people with some money. And so they were able to make this idea a lot more tangible. And Corella and Bertram F. Bonner lived in Princeton, where Wayne his father was the reverend at the Nassau Presbyterian Church in the center of Princeton. And the Bonners were parishioners there. And they were thinking about their investment fund. Mr. Bonner was an investment guy, and he had a lot of money through business and particularly through real estate. All those Levittown, the cookie cutter housing neighborhoods, he was involved. He was one of the first builders. And so a lot of his money came from that. And he met Corella in New York City, who was working in a hotel chain. So she was from a totally different social stratosphere. She actually grew up in the Appalachian Mountains in extreme poverty. So when they met and fell in love, it was a total clash of civilizations, if you will. And they fell in love and were parishioners and settled in Princeton. And so when they were thinking about their investments for the future and how they would like to use their money, they thought they would love to provide access to education. So I know for myself, I'm a low-income student, and college was never on my radar.